All right, let's roll.
All right, we're back.
We're back. Hey, I got to pause right here. Like when we started off the last one.
Yeah.
The camera started early and you're like, I'm in a mood.
Well,
what kind of mood are you in today?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I'm in a decent mood. I'm in a good mood today. I was in a better mood today than I was 2 weeks ago. Let me tell you that.
That's good, man. Because it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one.
I think so. I had a really good burger today. I don't know if you saw my Facebook. I went to a place called Super Duper Burgers. Brand new here in Napa. Been here, I don't know, a couple months. New to me. I went over there. Dude, these things were fantastic. I went to check in at Facebook. You can check in. And it pulled up all these other Super Duper Burgers. Like San Francisco, Concord, Walnut Creek, like San Jose. There's like 6 or 8 of them at least up here in the Bay Area. So they didn't have this one in Napa, so I created this one in Napa. But dude, it was so good.
I'm looking forward to them making their way down here to LA.
So I am in a good mood. It's all like organic, grass-fed. They make the patties fresh there every day type of thing. Like it's not frozen, kind of like In-N-Out, where it's not frozen. It's all fresh, but it's a step above it. Like it's a couple steps above In-N-Out. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty good.
Nice.
So yeah. All right. So that's my mood. We got Luck Knives in the house. We got Wilson, my buddy. We got Happy Haptics EDC. And again, we don't say hi to everybody. So if we miss you, don't take offense. I'm just not going to sit here for 20 minutes saying hi to every single person that joins him. Like that's just how it goes.
How dare you?
Exactly. Oh, and today I was carrying, we'll just get this out of the way real quick, the VC Edge interface number 80, the full dress, and I was wearing, this will make Wilson happy, my Grand Seiko, I don't remember the number, but it's the Quartz F9, super accurate, that I just got a new battery put in yesterday, Friday, from my Omega AD. I swung by him. Saw some new Omegas that he had in and asked him if he could do a battery. So
nice.
Before we bring on Dirk Stang from Stang Bladeworks, what were you carrying today, Alex?
I didn't leave the house, so no watch because, I got a clock.
And I got it.
I was carrying this little thing around, do little cutting and things. Among still kind of flipping around that Jesse James knife I'm about to review from the Bad Monkeys batch. So I'll leave it all for the video. Never mind.
All right. Well, let's bring on our guest today, Dirk Stang from Stang Bladeworks up in jolly old Canada, eh?
Yes.
Hey, guys.
Are you from a part of Canada that they speak French in?
Not too many people speak French where I'm at. Maybe a couple.
Okay. All right. Parce que moi, je parle français. I was born in France.
Yeah, sorry.
Every time I get an opportunity to harass a Canadian on their French accent, I like to do that. But you're not in that part, so.
Sorry.
What city are you in?
The closest city to me is like a little town called Tofield, but I'm pretty rural. I'm not really in a city at all.
Wow. Right on.
But very cool. He's in the kind of the Alberta area, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Very nice.
So yeah, Dirk is the owner, maker, founder, creator of Stang Bladeworks. If you're not familiar with them, here's a quick just scrolling shot of their website. And he makes some really cool knives. He has a YouTube channel also, which is linked in the description of this video. And Dirk and I have been talking back and forth for quite a while, on and off. I've been watching his videos. I like them. They're very like mine. Not high production, super edited. They're just a guy talking about the knives that he's making. So I love that. And he does some videos from his car. It's just, kind of a down-to-earth guy, which is great. And then my buddy Joseph, who is in Ohio, sent me one of his, been a while now, and I did a video on it. I literally fell in love with it. It was one of these models here that's on the screen. I'll let Derek explain what it's called because I know I butchered it during the video. I did. But it was super cool knife. So we thank him for coming on today, taking up a little bit of his time on a Sunday evening to chat with us and all of you few people that are watching.
Very, very cool.
Awesome.
So tell us about your knife journey. Like, I know like that's an expected question, but I'm always interested to see where somebody kind of started and came from and where it developed into fixed blades to folding knives. From the grinds, it does appear like you're using CNC, right?
Yeah, well, I do both. Mostly CNC stuff now, but I got my start like kind of hand making stuff. Obviously, the CNC is expensive. Like it would be crazy to buy it just starting out, but I eventually got there.
Very nice.
But yeah, like I've always kind of been into knives. My grandpa was really into them when I was younger, and I think that kind of got imparted on me. And then I found this guy's YouTube channel. His name's Mike Stewart, and his channel's Ecom Knives. I don't think he makes knives anymore, but super good channel. He left all the videos up, and he had all these videos kind of like how he makes the knives. I always just assumed it was something that was like an extremely daunting process, but I kind of fell down that rabbit hole. And then you know how once you start going down one of those YouTube rabbit holes, you're like, oh, maybe I could live in a sailboat or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
This was just my version of that. So like, gradually watch, and then you discover other guys and so on and so forth. And then kind of just like talking to different makers and stuff online, eventually you fumble together like these different processes, how to build different stuff. And I started out with fixed blades, and then I went to slip joints, and then folders on a manual mill, and then the CNC is kind of like my most recent step. But that was sort of the plan I laid out for myself from the start.
And I think that's pretty much the natural progression from the makers I've talked to, is they start with fixed blades because, well, I'm not gonna say they're easier, but there's a lot less involved in a fixed blade than there is in a folder. Not as much geometry and things like that. And then they kind of progress into the folders and stuff like that. Odin Custom, he's the opposite. Kyle over there, he started out with folders first and then went into fixed blades and then bought a CNC and has been busting out CNC folders now. So, yeah, everybody does it kind of their own way, which is great too.
Mm-hmm.
We've even got Luck Knives in the house, who says howdy early on, and he went from a knife YouTube reviewer guy to now making his own knives as well. I just saw a post on Instagram where he's selling a bunch now. Like, so he's in the big time. I don't know if they sold. He's trying to sell them. I don't know if they sold or not yet. I'm guessing they doubt.
Mm-hmm. Are they selling, Mikey? Tell us in the comments.
Exactly. I did like that chef knife though that you posted, Mike. I was tempted to reach out, but I'm trying to stay focused. I got something in my eye right now, so I'm not buying every shiny thing.
That's hard to do.
Trust me, I just got this in the mail the other day.
Yeah,
and
I like that thing, man.
With the bacon, so this is the Red Horse Knife Works Hellraiser. It's a custom one from many years ago with a bacon Damascus blade, carbon fiber scales, all that. Like, I got a good deal on it from a friend.
You said in your video that was one of the more plain ones. It's a flipper with bacon Damascus. That's, yeah.
Well, it's not the Black Death series. Like my super crazy custom. It's not plain. That is true.
Yeah.
Oh, so Luck Knives says, Mike says, a little over half of the knives that he posted are sold. That's great. Nice. That's awesome, dude. Want. Congrats. All right, so we kind of got the wherewithal of how you got into it. So were you, Derek, a knife collector before? Did you have a bunch of knives, or did you just have one? Did you have none? How did you
definitely
get into that?
I have a small collection. It's probably nothing like what you guys have, but yeah, I mean, that's why I got into it. Like, from collecting and enjoying the knives. And then once I found out you can sort of do it yourself, then that's where I headed. But I still have a knife collection now.
Okay.
It's suffered a bit as a result of all the equipment and stuff, but it does exist.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, did you have specific makers other than the one guy you found making knives on YouTube that you were collecting, you were liking? Were you more into production knives or custom knives when you were back in the day collecting?
I'd say probably more production stuff just because of the cost. And then, like everybody, as you advance, then you start justifying spending more and more money. So then I got into higher end stuff, but by the time I was into it, I couldn't really afford it as much. So
yeah,
I must be digressing because I started that direction, and then as like I got up to like, like the $2-3 grand, and I'm like, now, like, instead of a full custom Terrazula, I might just consider like a CKF version for $600.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad spot to stay if you can keep yourself there.
If you can keep yourself there, more power to you, man. I originally said I was never going to spend more than $500 on a knife. I was like, that's crazy. That's dumb. What are you guys thinking? Well, we knew that.
There's still a few like gems I'm going to spend good money for. Right. But I'm like at that point where there's only like a couple gems really like I'm willing to spend money for. And then after that, like over like $1,500, I'm not really interested anymore. Before you could get into like some really crazy stuff for like $2,500, $3 grand.
Oh, yeah.
And then, then you go into the $1,500 realm and get some really decent, pretty personalized custom knives at that point. But now it's like everything's double, tripled. People are going nuts in the forums. And so it's like, for me, I just choose not to participate in that. What I'll do instead is I'll probably reach out to like a person like Derek, and I'll be like, hey, man, let's build something cool and unique, because I'm not going to go play that game with people who aren't interested in my money or are interested in playing that secondary market where you just get dominated, and it just all depends on where you're at financially. That's something we talked about before. But even with certain financial comforts that I do have, like I don't know, I just it starts being like, well, I can afford it, but would I rather do this with my money? Like whether I go take a trip, or I don't know.
And that's kind of how I did this with this interface number 80, this full dress. I reached out to Jason Van Camp and said, hey, I want a standard one, but I also want you to make me something fancy. And he goes, well, how much do you want to spend? I'm like, well, as little as I can, but as fancy as I can, So we kind of went back and forth, and he goes, look, if you want to spend 10 grand, I can figure out a way to spend 10 grand on a knife. I said, well, I don't want to spend that much. I didn't really have a budget necessarily, but I knew it wasn't 10 grand. So we worked out a deal, and he built this, and I paid what I felt was comfortable for it and worth it and whatnot. So I didn't play a secondary market and stupid stuff like that. Because
to be fair, you spent a lot of money on that knife, but you're into VC edges. Like that's something you're into, right?
Yeah, I had no problems with what this cost. This costs
different.
About $3,400 for people that are wondering. I've talked about it before. It's fine. It's got Damascus and Damasteel blade and all that stuff, and Timascus lock bar, and I'm super happy with it. And to me, it was worth the price. It may not be worth the price to you, but it just depends on everybody. And really, my message is buy what you like. Don't buy the hype, and don't buy from fear of missing out.
But do buy a Stang Bladeworks.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
So let's talk about your knife, Derek.
Well, let's go. We got Gary here, who's been a big supporter of my channel. So Gary, thank you. It's been a little while since we chatted. He's been entering every lotto for the, how do you pronounce this?
It's a Pyrenees, like the dog.
Pyrenees. I know I butchered it. It's the only knife out there that I really want right now. It's a cool knife. I'm not gonna, think it was awesome when I had one.
Yeah, it's a sexy blade
great
shape.
looking knife. Let's see if I can make it bigger here for you. Yeah, go ahead and show us that one again.
Cool. Actually, I got some new ones that are going to be up for Lotto soon. So instead of mine beat up, maybe I'll show some new stuff that I haven't sort of trashed. Got like a Ninja Turtles vibe going on with that one.
Nice.
I dig it, man.
The more plain one.
And what is the normal price on those if you can win a lotto?
So they start at $600 US with the collars and the ano and stuff. I charge a bit more. I think this one as is would be $700, but like my personal one, this would be $600 for me.
And honestly, that's a fantastic price for handmade custom knives.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like you can't get that again, guys. I've talked about it in my videos a lot. Outside of the US, you can get more bang for your buck. I primarily talk about that with the South African makers when I'm talking about their stuff. But here's a great example too. I don't know that you could get that in the United States.
Yeah,
for $600. I don't know.
You guys who do similar stuff, and they're priced about that range. The CNC helps a lot, like keep the price a little more reasonable. Like it's such a valuable tool. If I was doing it by hand, I couldn't sell them for that much. Otherwise, I'd be better off working at McDonald's. But using the machines and stuff helps a ton. So it's definitely worthwhile learning that.
And David has a great point here. $600. That's the same price as a Chris Reeves Sabenza.
Yeah.
Or ultra, whatever the hell it is, ultimatum thing, whatever.
I think that $600 to $800 price range is in that type of realm of knives, especially if we're talking like something closer to a custom, where that's pretty. I mean, I mentioned a production at $600 because it was a good deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so there you go. That kind of tells you where my thought process is at. It's nice to see that makers, because clearly Derek and other people out there know what the market is and see what it is, and they price themselves to. Usually, I find like people try to price themselves where it's as affordable as possible for as many people as possible to get the name out there and to build the brand. And I like that, but then you see people kind of continuing to make knives over the years, and then they kind of keep those realistic price ranges going on as long as they can, because even like the Grimsmos and other brands and stuff like that, they've all gone up over the years, at least a couple $100, so.
Agreed. I mean, there is inflation, and I know that these makers have to make money. I don't want a maker to ever lose money making a knife.
No.
So you've got to make your $600 has to cover your material, has to cover your time, has to cover the tools and the CNC. Like it has to make sense. And sometimes the price is just what it is. Like, and people just need to accept that and not bitch about everybody's price on everything when they're reasonable prices. Now, if you turn around next week and say, well, it was $600, but now it's $1,250 for no apparent reason, well, then people are going to bust on you, and that could be a problem. But, I think, you, Jason at VC Edge, his prices they've gone up a little bit, but he's doing something completely different with his all carbon fiber. And when you're doing something innovative that nobody else is doing, I think you can now charge a little bit of a premium because nobody else does it. So if you want it, you're going to pay. But again, I don't think he's out of line either. So it's, I don't know. Pricing is a balance subject. It's a balance for sure.
For me, I want guys to be able to use it. And like when I was really into knives, like before I started making them, that sort of holy trinity was a big deal, like the CRK, Hinder, Strider. And like that's what I was really into. That's kind of my jam. So I want to make something like sort of my take on that. And like it would be awesome to sell them for twice as much money and make twice as much money. But then you're kind of not really that thing anymore. And guys aren't going to use them the same way. It becomes more of an investment thing and less of a tool. So like I try and design everything, you know, with that in mind. And like there are certain things you forego, like, you know, you're not doing like Timascus and stuff for that money, but I think you can make a quality folder for that money and have it make sense. Just have to sort of try and be smart about it.
Absolutely. Have you done any Timascus stuff or Damascus stuff here and there?
A little bit of Timascus, not in a long time, and no Damascus. Like I've never bought any before. It's really pricey. So when you're like figuring out a process, throwing away like a $250 chunk of Damasteel would sting more than throwing out a piece of MagnaCut or Cruware or something.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen you doing some MagnaCut now. And how is that? How are you liking MagnaCut?
To be honest, it's kind of a hassle to work with compared to other steels. Like I noticed tool life, it's like, I mean, it's tough, but it's tough on all your shit too. I do think like the end product is worth it. It's kind of like, it's been described to me as like a stainless Cruware, and I think I would agree with that.
Okay.
So I like it, but it's like compared to doing like CPM 154, like you notice a difference, and it costs more money to make those parts. Just like tool life, or if you're grinding blades, abrasives, whatever, heat treating, it's a bit weird. Like you can tell Laren optimized so many different things. Like it's not your standard steel where it's like, you know, they don't really behave that differently. But I do notice this one more than anything else has its own quirks and stuff you kind of got to learn. But I think it's worth learning.
No, I agree. And you're doing all your own heat treating and everything there in-house, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's cool. And when did you start Stang Bladeworks?
I don't know. Probably like 5 or 6 years ago, probably 6 years ago.
Okay.
And then I made the company like a real company probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
That's kind of when I started noticing your stuff, was probably like a few years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you can go way back and see some real ugly stuff if you scroll far enough on some prison shivs and whatnot. But
hey, I talked a little bit of crap about people. I've gotten some crap knives in before, and I've done videos on them. But even the crap knives that I've gotten in are better than I could do. And I try to be honest about that when I talk about it in the video. I was like, I couldn't do it. I would like to make a fixed blade, like go and Alex and I have talked about this in Texas with our other friend Chris. There's a maker there that does like classes and stuff. And we've talked about making a long weekend out of it and making a knife there in a weekend and stuff. I'd love to do that. Or
yeah, you guys should do it.
Go up to, talk my buddy Luck Knives, Mike, into, hosting me up there in Vegas before he moves, and make a knife there, just to kind of go through the process and the experience. I think that would be fun, and it'll look like total crap, I guarantee it, but it might be fun.
Probably. Yeah, I've done that for a few people. Like they've come over and I've gone through the process start to finish, and I think like as a collector, it allows you to get a different perspective on things and like a different appreciation, and maybe like it helps you understand certain costs.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, like I want a mirror polished blade. Like, why is this guy going to charge me $300, $400, $500 for that?
Yep.
And then you try and do it, and you're like, oh man, it should cost $1,000.
Yeah. I almost think every collector should do that. I think it would really give us a lot of appreciation. Now, I've been to Beg Knives here in Petaluma, Mark Beg and the custom knife shop from Beg Knives before. I've hung out there a lot and watched them work. So I have a little more understanding having been there and seen them doing work, but I think it's still different if I were to sit down and do the work. But it was certainly eye-opening when I went there and did like a factory tour and hung out there for an afternoon to see all the different steps and how they move it through the factory or the warehouse there that they have, and really eye-opening. And I'm like, okay, I can't complain about your prices anymore. Not that I was before, but it was like,
I think it helps. A lot of people, I think, don't realize how much work goes into it. I know, like, the odd time, like my parents will come over and I'm showing them stuff and they're like, what, this seems like obscene for a knife or whatever. And I think it helps. That's one reason why I do the videos, show people what's all involved in it. Because I think, it helps justify the price, but like it sort of does, I think.
I think it does. And, Luck Knives chimes in here. It says, even just a 600 grit hand rub is so much work, let alone a mirror polish. And I think that's a great point, Mike and Derek, is we're buying this stuff and we're spending the money, but we have no concept as to what it takes. And I mirror polish is not my favorite. Here is one and it's got some fingerprints on there, but this is RJ Martin Q36 SS. And yeah, the amount of time to make that blade is just crazy. I can't really comprehend it. And this I think table on this was like 3,200, give or take. I got it in like a trade deal from Blade Show last year, but yeah, there's so much work into these customs. I don't know how you guys make money.
It helps you make a better judgment call too as a collector when you're like, wow, that mirror polish is cool, but like, is it $800 cool? Yep. Like it, maybe some things it's like sort of neat, but you don't want to spend what it costs to do it. And then the more you know about that, then it's easier, when you're asking to do stuff.
I'm always the guy that is like, I'm always the guy that's like, yep, that's $800 cool. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I'll be the one collector. I'll be like, come on. I like to push makers to like their limits, but I like their input too. I don't want to be like one of those like that's gonna dictate like what's gonna happen. I'm just saying like the Kurt American bolster lock. That's still the only bolster lock Kurt is made, from what I understand.
Yep.
And he, it took me like at least 2 months of us talking about what we're going to build together, because we like, okay, we're going to make a knife. Okay, it's going to have Westinghouse on it. Okay, what about the lock? Do you want a frame lock or do you want a liner lock? I'm like, I want a bolster lock.
Neither.
Like, oh, damn it. Like, so, but that to me makes that knife even more special, because it's like, and the way he executed it, you would never know that was his first bolster lock. There would be no way. Like, no. It doesn't make sense. It's just when the lock, when you disengage the lock, just the way everything lines up on the inside with the liner piece and everything and the bolster looks like one piece. Like he literally spent all this time to make sure it fitted perfect. And that was mind blowing for me to like push him to that uncomfort level, and like he made it happen, like regardless. And he didn't just like ship a less worthy product, saying that, oh, well, it's my first time, so it might be a little rough, but no, he nailed it. Like, wow.
If you didn't tell anybody, having handled that knife, if you never told me it was his first bolster lock, I would never have known. I would have thought it was his 1,000. Like it was done perfectly. Now he may have done 12 of them in his shop before he sent the one to you, because he did it 12 times wrong, and that's really number 13. We may never know, but he did a great job on that one.
I'm pretty sure that was his first execution, because
I'm sure.
I don't know if he does this now, so nobody bitch at him if that's the case. But I got in on this Phantom build like before he before he blew up. So at the time, he would send me like, here's a picture of the liners. Here's the picture of the micarta. Look, I got it all mated together. Like I got a build like progression picture thing constantly going on with this knife. And it was really cool to watch, but I'm pretty sure that was his first, like, boom, got it in. The only thing I know he had to redo on the blade was the hamon. The first time he did the hamon, he didn't like it. I was fine with it. It was a little bit more light. And I'm not saying I'm like, a steel connoisseur or anything, but the last thing I want to do on a clade like back blade is reheat treat it and to get more like characteristics out of it, just to get the line right. Like I thought, it's fine the way it is, but he's like, no, like I'll just redo it, it'll look perfect. So I'm like, it's a folder, so it's not a katana. It'll be fine.
Yep. And then Mikey says I couldn't convince him to do his first inset lock on his build. So we know that Alex has more pull than Mike now. That's what that tells me.
Maybe
but Kurt has kind of blown up now.
That's not even true, man, because when we were dealing with Robert Carter, like I had my knife there for like 8 or 9 months, and then he gets his pivots done in like, I don't know, a couple weeks.
That's true too.
And I'm like, Robert, what the F, man? My knife. It's been sitting there, man. Let's get it going.
Yeah, and I'm still talking to Ed Kim or Red Horse about doing the final Hellraiser. Been talking to him for like a year. So that might happen in 2023. It might not. I don't know where we're at with that. At some point, we will have him build that one.
I think I beat all the records right now with this build that I think I sent my deposit in 2018. And it's still ongoing right now.
5 years?
Yep.
Well,
Lodato
now I
knives.
do know. Which one is that?
Lodato knives. It's a really cool knife that this guy makes. This guy's in New York State. He makes folders, fixed blade, a lot of Japanese influence.
Okay.
But he like does it on his spare time. Like he's not that's not his full-time thing.
Right.
So I sent him like a bunch of money. I sent him some like that raindrop copper carbon fiber, that has it looks like Damascus-ish. So I sent him slabs of those too. So he's had that. And then, but yeah, like that's still ongoing from 2018.
So the longest one that I know of, which might be yours, was Rit from Averian Knives in Thailand. I think it was his Lee Lerman he waited 7 years for.
That is understandable.
So again, custom
Lee
knife
Lerman.
world is different.
Yep.
When you got these people like that, you're going to wait years maybe for. When Todd Begg was hot in it, you were waiting 4 or 5 years for a custom bodega. And
well, I'm still on Naughty's. I'm still on Naughty's list for a sabotage, and it's been, I don't know, it's at least been 5 years. But
yeah. So back to Derek though, what is in store for Stang Knives coming up?
I'm just hoping to sort of streamline all my processes, get things a bit more figured out. I recently made some changes to give myself more time at the shop. This isn't my full-time gig, but I used to just do it on like Saturday, and now I've got a bit more time than that. So I'm just looking to sort of ramp things up, become more efficient at making these, sort of develop a process, and then maybe carry that process forward into like new models and stuff. I'm hesitant to do new models. Well, there's still things about this one, like the process that I'm trying to improve. I don't want to carry like bad habits and just spread them out over a bunch of different knives. So I'm using this as like a test bed to get everything ironed out. And then, I don't know, from past that, no idea.
How long's the Pyrenees been out, by the way?
I started doing like handmade ones probably like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
And do you have other models in the back of your mind sketched out somewhere that you're going to evolve to? Or have you not even got to that far yet?
I might have not here. Well, I had like a mini Pyrenees designed, and there was going to be this company from Canada I was going to collaborate with, and it was going to be like a production knife made in Canada. But
that's clever.
It fell apart anyway. So I still have the design. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I have a fixed blade, like a outdoors knife, this Boardwalk. I haven't made them in a while, but
okay,
that's nice.
Come across, but yeah, I like doing those because it's like I can sort of collaborate with a couple local guys here that are super talented, and it's like a cool way to, like I have a guy do my handles, Elson Precision, and then Buffalo Bones Leather does the sheath, so it's cool to like collaborate on them. But to be honest, like the fixed blades don't move like folders do, so I've sort of just neglected that. Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, Detroit. If you were on time, you would have heard the intro. Yes, Derek is up in jolly old Canada, the Alberta area. If you're on time, you'll get all the info and you won't interrupt class, but that's okay. And I can say that to Detroit because him and I are friends in the back. So he's not just normal viewer. Now that's cool. I think our guys are into fixed blades. I am not into fixed blades, yet I have a bunch because people have sent me a bunch. Jim Skelton tempted me and got me to buy one of his that I happen to have over here, the mini Hellraiser, because it glows in the dark. And like he literally sent me a video from his phone of this, texted me a video of it glowing. And then he walked out of the closet into the lit room and I could see it all. And I'm like, all right, you had me at the glow. How much is it? And where do I, so I have a few fixed blades. I don't carry them anywhere. I don't really do anything with them, but I don't know. I got a handful of them now because I have become appreciative of the fixed blades. And I've had some gifted to me from some viewers and stuff like that. So, I kind of wish I had more of a use for them. I don't do a lot of outdoor camping and that kind of stuff. I'm not really an outdoorsy guy, but I don't know. I do like my fixed blades, and there's a couple other fixed blades I'll probably buy just because they're cool. But again, I'm trying to not just buy every shiny thing and buy things I'm going to use and carry more than just buy stuff that sits on the shelf and collects dust.
Yeah.
I've enough of that already.
And I think that's where a lot of guys are. So it's like the folder, obviously all of us carry a folder every single day. Yep. So it's, you can sort of justify it because you get to enjoy it all the time. But I'm the same way with the fixed blades. And to be honest, if I am going to go out and really use a fixed blade and abuse it, I'm probably just going to take out some piece of garbage. I don't want to take some sweet custom knife out and and trash it.
That's a whole conundrum thing. And Dave here says he likes that fixed blade that you had because he would work well in Montana. Yeah. So
I always said that a real knife is a fixed blade.
Yeah, if you're going to do hard use work stuff, you should use a fixed blade. And it kind of goes back to it's a weird thing. So
I have all this shit because I'm a city boy.
Exactly.
I still have fixed blades. Ooh, tons of them.
Agreed. But do you carry? So you guys with the crazy customs, I carry my knives that are customs.
I carry this knife every day.
I don't
every
use
day.
customs a lot. If I was doing hard use stuff every day in a warehouse, would I carry a custom to do that? I don't think so. You carry the right tool for the right job.
This is actually the knife that I bought in case somebody wants to break into my house. That's, it's the headhunter. Want to break into a Marine's house? Not a good idea, guys.
I'm going to use something with a little more distance. If somebody breaks in my house, that's just me.
Well, the house is close quarters combat, bro. What are you going to do in a hallway?
If you're using a knife for defensive purposes, your day has gone terribly wrong.
It's a sword.
Everything has gone to hell.
Well, I think just showing the damn thing will make somebody run the other way.
Yes, if you come running out of your bedroom,
this crazy mother effer is coming out with it. He's
boxers.
actually coming out with a knife. He's actually doing it. I better get out of here.
Yeah, I could just see you coming running out of your bedroom with that, wielding that thing in your boxers.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna run
boxers, bro, and if boxers, and then I'm gonna follow him out to the street.
Al says, Alex taking scalps.
Yeah.
Damien asks, how much are the fixed blades? I don't know. Are you actually making any fixed blades? Are there any on the sides?
There's none on the site right now. What were they? I think they were 200 with Kydex and 265 or 250 with the sheath. It's been a while since I've done them, but in about that range.
Which I think is a great price for that. Papa Bear Knives, he'd make some fixed blades here in the United States that I have some of. His prices were great too. Don't quote me on them, but when I was doing some, they were in that $200 to $300-ish range, and I thought that was a great price for custom fixed blades.
Yeah, I love me my Bark Rivers.
Damien says, make a few, I'll take one. reach out to Derek and
get some fixed blade orders. Now we're talking. We're like, oh man,
reach out to Derek, and Derek is on. What's the easiest way to get a hold of you? I know we talk on Facebook.
Facebook, Instagram, whatever, email. I like to think I'm pretty responsive to all that stuff, so whatever works for you.
Yeah, he's been super responsive to me, guys. I've talked to other makers throughout my journey, and some you get responses from in 5-10 minutes, an hour, that same day. Others you don't hear from for 3 weeks, and then you ask them again, and they're like, "Oh, I missed your message." Like, Derek's been super responsive. So, for whatever that's worth.
Are those rich light scales, Derek?
No, they're canvas. My card. I'm bad at centering things in the camera here, but
I know it's kind of weird.
I've done G10 ones. Well, I haven't done them. I get Eric Elson Precision. Where is he? I think he's in Ontario. He does the scales for me just because like doing phenolics like this really trashes your coolant in a machine. So I get to work with him. He's done some like fat carbon ones and stuff that were really cool in the past, but the price starts to creep up pretty high on those. But my card is like a good way to hit that price point, and I like the material.
Yeah.
Here's a good
people like that stuff.
Here's a good question from Gary. Hey Derek, do you still have the first Pyrenees you ever made?
I do. It's in the drawer in my garage. It sucks, but I've got it.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't something that was going to be sellable, so I was either keeping it or it's going in the garbage.
I think that's great. And then Al says, break into Dirk's house and he might come at you with a donut knife. Maybe. I have a donut knife issue, if you will. CPM asks, are you part ABS, Derek?
No, I don't think they'd be too keen on me. I don't really forge anything. I'm pretty sure there's rules about conventional making and stuff in there. I'm not. I don't 100% up on it, but I don't think I meet the qualifications.
Yeah. David, we talked about price a little bit in that $200 to $300 range. So yeah, if you want something like that, hit Derek up on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and maybe he can bust out a couple of fixed blades for you guys. Well, you can send your gratuities my way later, Derek.
Yeah. So let's say like one of our viewers or like somebody wants the Pyrenees. How does he go about doing it? Like, is it a Facebook group kind of lotto? Is it Instagram? Like, what's the best way to get one?
The odd time I'll run like a lotto just for the Facebook group, sort of like to incentivize anyone to be there in the first place. But normally I just do the lottos on the website. I've gone to like, pretty significant lengths to avoid any social media selling. I don't know how stable that's going to be. Like I've seen it. It's not super knife friendly. So all the sales, lottos, everything is just on my website. So you don't have to have Instagram or Twitter, Facebook, whatever. As long as you have the internet, you're good to go. It's just like you click on a form and fill it out, and then it exports all the names to a spreadsheet for me. I just do a random number thing and email the winners. So it's, I'll advertise it on social media, but you don't need anything to do it.
That's cool, actually. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's great because a lot of times I've asked, I've been talking to people, or I'll do something on a video. They'll reach out to me in an email and say, hey, where do I sign up for that? Whatever I talked about, right? I'm not doing the giveaway, but so-and-so is doing a giveaway or a lotto. And I'm like, oh, you got to check their Facebook group. And they're like, I don't have Facebook. And I'm like, what? They're like, no, I don't have Facebook. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know how to help you then. So I think that's great that you're doing it on your site. Kyle Odin over at Odin's Custom is now doing a lot of his lottos and stuff on his website, advertising it on social media, but then it all is happening on his website, just like yours, which I think is great because he had people also that just weren't in or on Facebook or Instagram, but wanted to be involved. So I think that's a great way to go. And there's some liabilities and issues with Facebook because it's a knife. It's
it's
bad juju,
Some guys get away with it for a long time. Some guys don't. But I mean, it's just something to be aware of, I suppose.
Yes.
Like it doesn't seem to be consistently enforced, but I don't want to have my business model like reliant on a platform that's like not super keen on us.
I agree. It's all good until it's not good.
Yeah.
And you never know when that day is going to come. We've had knife YouTube channels have issues before.
Yeah.
You know, there was no
Even
problems
watch channels.
there was no problems with firearms before on YouTube. Like
Yeah,
that was a big thing. It was not a big deal. And then all of a sudden one day, that's no good. So yeah, it's all good until it's not good. So
yeah. And like the scamming and stuff on Instagram, like I don't know if I'm just noticing it more lately, but the amount of like fake accounts I'll see, like when you're scrolling through the stories, there's like 4 or 5 guys every day who are like, report this account. This isn't me. This is so
yeah,
kind of getting away from that bullshit.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more rampant. There's not a lot of things in my life that I hate, but scammer, hacker, like those types of people, I just can't stand. Don't get it. The people that prey on the elderly telemarketer scams, just certain things. If I win the lotto ever, I'm throwing a bunch of money to combat that crap.
Go get them.
Yeah. And Dave says, sound business philosophy, do not become overly reliant on one distribution channel. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I agree. Same with your money. Don't put it all in one bank, kind of spread it around different accounts, and don't buy one stock, buy 10 stocks of different things. And, it's all just that sort of a thing, I think is good to kind of diversify and spread it around. I don't put all my money in my mattress. Some is in my sock drawer, some is in the safe, and some is in the mattress. So I got to mix it up.
That's important.
I think so. So I did put a link in the comments here to Derek's website. It's also I think it's in the description. If not, I'll make sure that it is in the description. I know his YouTube channel is in the description because he also has a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So all of you guys that are watching here, go subscribe over there to see in depth on how he makes the knives and like his comments. It's great. It's really kind of behind the scenes stuff, which I love that stuff. I eat up that. I watch a lot of your stuff behind the scenes. Even Jim has done some behind the scenes stuff. Jim Skelton.
Yeah. I've seen his stuff, but that's cool when he shows it. I know, like, I've watched probably every Grimsmo video over the years, and for me, like, that made those knives so much
Grimsmos,
cool. Yeah. Seeing that whole, like,
I think there was
attached to it.
There was a comment up here before.
I put all my money in Sharp Talk Bitcoin. Too bad, man. That one sunk.
Now you got to put it into the EDC hour Bitcoin, which we'll try to come up with something.
Right. I just yeah.
Happy Haptic EDC earlier on said Stang grinding his way up to Grimsmo status.
Well, I got a long ways to go. Those guys are killing it right now, but
got a ways to go.
Yeah, they are really. I really like the way they do their business too. Actually, like same thing. YouTube channel, kind of showing how they do stuff. I think their fanhood and following goes way beyond just the Norseman itself or the Rask, the knife. I think it's just really the way, like the whole thing to me is really well presented.
Yeah, well, you can really like appreciate it without owning any of the products, like just seeing.
Absolutely,
it's so cool to me, anyway.
Yeah, I have owned a Norseman before for a little while. Ended up selling or trading that away. At some point, I'm going to break down and just spend the money on a Saga pen. They're cool. They're super cool.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Kind of go. Oh, of course. There you go.
See, I have one too. I like those things.
Yeah, Alex has one.
You're left
I have several
now.
people. I think Alex even gave me a code for one recently, and I was like,
yeah,
I'm going to pass because I'm trying. I'm trying to focus and not buy every shiny thing, but it's hard. This is hard. I thought handling all these knives that people loan me would kind of quell my thirst for buying knives. It hasn't really worked out that way.
Well, I find it to be the opposite. Where like the more cool shit you see, then you're like, oh, I didn't even know I wanted that.
That's true. I have bought stuff like that. I'm like, I didn't even know this existed, and now I need to have one, which was kind of the VC Edge. Like I think it was Gary who may still be watching here. He sent me his VC Edge number. I don't remember what number. It was early number. And if Gary's still here, he'll chime in with it. And that was the first time I ever experienced one. I was blown away. I started frantically emailing Jason like that night I opened that box and said, I need to get one. How do I get it one and all that? And now I've got two. I've got a kind of a plain build, and then I've got this full dress build. And I'm good now. Him and I talk a lot. He's in Southern California, so we got together at the last show, had lunch, and cool. He's doing some fixed blades and getting into some kitchen knives and stuff now too. So I'll be able to hopefully check out those new models as they come out.
Did he ever name that fixed blade?
No, he has not. To my knowledge, he has not named the fixed blade that he gave me at the show to film. I have since sent it back reluctantly, but he wanted.
I told you it needs to be named the Intercourse.
I don't think it's going to be named that. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that. But so yeah, having my channel and people loan a bunch of stuff in has cost me money in buying knives that I never knew I needed.
The VC Edge Intercourse. I like that.
Yeah, Detroit Spartan loves the VC Edge, only because he's handled mine. But yeah, what do we got here? Happy Haptics says John's machining abilities on a whole nother level than any maker's CNC mastermind for real. Yes, I think he is on a different level than most other makers for sure. But with time, I bet you Derek's going to get up there. And I know that Odin Custom has really risen as he's developed time with his CNC. It's all about time.
Yeah, I remember this. I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but Elijah Asham came out with this full fixed blade called the Horse Crippler.
No, I don't remember that one. No,
that was like 2-3 years ago. I can't remember, but it was this massive Bowie thing that they released at Blade Show. It was pretty cool.
Let me see if I can find it.
It's funny looking, dude. It is funny looking. That's funny. Like some of these comments, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Let me see if I can find one here.
Well, it wasn't a. You're not gonna find it on that, Dirk. You're gonna need to look like on Google because it was like one or two things. I don't think they made many of them. It was like one or maybe like 5 or 10 or something. But yeah, the Horse Crippler.
Here we go.
That was funny. There it is. The Horse Crippler.
Pull it up in a bigger. Oh, it opened a different window. Hold on. Like this.
So some people are gonna get angry about this, but I am not an Elijah Isham fan. I love the way his stuff looks, but I don't find them to be particularly ergonomic.
That is a cool one.
That is a nice fixed blade.
That's pretty cool. Can you guys all read this?
My coworker could.
Yeah, I find what I find, and I guess I can change it to English maybe. But yeah, that's pretty cool fixed blade. I like that one.
There's one big in 2019. That's when it was. Yeah, I remember that.
And Al says that my channel costs him money too. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
And yeah, that fixed blade is up my alley for sure.
So now you need to size that thing up, Derek. You need to make I don't know, an elephant crippler.
Trying one up them. I don't know. I feel like that design's probably best left alone.
Well said.
I'll leave it to the experts.
Speaking of a mastodon crippler, I showed Dirk the ultimate folding sword today.
Oh, and I think I didn't reach out directly to him, but it doesn't sound like he has that one.
Oh, I see.
It sounds like it from reading the comments. It sounds like it's coming at the end of the year for Midgards, but he doesn't have one.
So it is a Midgard.
It is a Midgards, and I'm guessing that he just took that from some post somewhere and posted it. But it's like a 25-inch overall folding knife. 25 inches
25-inch folder. That is wild.
I need to reach out
Moose Mainer.
to Dirk over at Midgards and see if I can get one.
Yeah.
Haven't worked with him in a while, but
is the only knife that rivaled the Peacemaker.
Oh, Thomas, what do you say here? Dirk made me visit the Red Horse Knife Works at Blade. I don't have one yet, but maybe if I can find a user. What can I say? I mean, I know that Detroit Spartan wanted me to show this one again earlier in some comments, but I don't know. It's a goofy-ish looking design. I get it. It's not for everybody, but it's also something that I think you appreciate more after you handle one. I know that's true for Alex and for Pete over at A Therapeutic Edge. They didn't like them until they got them in their hand. So I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought it was a stupid design. I knew about them for years, but I just, and then you sent me the production one. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This thing actually is a good cutter. It does work. It's just different looking.
It's different looking for sure. It's not for everybody, but neither is the Pyrenees. Neither is, I don't know. You pick any knife. There's not one knife that's for anybody.
Pretty sexy to me, man. I like the little.
I like the Pyrenees. I like a lot of knives. There's knives that I don't like. I'm just like you guys. There's knives I don't like.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's knives Derek doesn't like. But
yeah, I almost think if everybody likes it, it's maybe like too boring. I think it's a good thing to really appeal. You can't appeal to everybody, and if you're just straight down the middle on everything, then it's like, I don't know. To me, it's not as cool. I feel like the Norseman is like that, and I think that's a big part of why it was so successful. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, ever move on. But then if it speaks to you, like it's different than every other thing out there.
That was the first knife that I hated. Not hated, that's strong words. That was the first knife I had no interest in buying. And then when I think it was around 2019, actually, when they started having them in stock, like you could just buy one from their website sometimes. So I just happened to be visiting their site and they had them in stock. I'm like, it's going to be easy to like sell it if I don't like it. Let me see what this is all about. I still have it. Can't sell it. I really like it. I ended up, regardless of the way it looks, I ended up thinking, actually being kind of a pro Norseman kind of guy. Like, I really do like that design a lot.
I think that was one of the, maybe not the first, but it was one of the first kind of mainstream polarizing knives designs. You either loved it or hated it. Before that, you just kind of, most knives were fine, but I think that one really was kind of the first in recent history to really shake things up. And
I started like the drop shut shit.
And they started the drop stuff, which I'm not a drop shutty guy. But yeah, that one was super polarizing. People still to this day either love the Norseman or hate the Norseman.
I like to bring up too another one of his neighbors, the guys at North Arms. They make a great knife too over there. You ever talk to those guys, Derek?
I do actually. Yeah, when I was looking to buy my machine, like I didn't know anything about CNC machines, and they spent like an hour and a half on the phone with me. I had all these like idiot questions trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and like I've talked to them a couple times, and they've been super helpful. And I have their knives, like their folder. It's crazy well made for the money. I don't know how they do it, to be honest.
Right?
Yeah, I've got a Skaha 2. Those are the Skaha 2s that we got, right?
Dude, it's like Skaha 2.2.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird one.
It's a weird
now they're doing Magna Cut. And I sent him, I went and bought Fat Carbon, the, what's that pattern? I forget what it's called.
Let me grab it right here.
But I actually talked to Mike for a couple years, and I'm like, dude, you got to make one out of Fat Carbon. You got to make one out of Fat Carbon. And it's always like, no, because I don't know the material and this and that. And eventually he said yes. So I'm like, what if you gave me all your tooling sizes precisely, and I can guarantee you I'll have them cut to fit your machine precisely. What do you say? So he finally said, okay. So then I got the specs from him. I gave it to Fat Carbon because I know Fat Carbon would do a great job. And this is kind of right in the area where they're moving to MagnaCut. So those are actually S35s.
Yep.
But the Fat Carbon ones, I believe, are MagnaCut only, if I remember right. So those are
we kind of missed it by a week or two of getting the MagnaCut, probably.
Which is fine because I like their S35 just fine. It's great.
Yeah, I don't think there's much difference between the two. Honestly, like you'd have a hard time noticing. I think the MagnaCut's a bit tougher, but edge retention, stainless, all that stuff, I think they're so close that to put them on completely different levels is unreasonable. I think.
I agree.
Here's a good question from Paul Blue.
That's
are y'all
Paulie,
digging?
Man. I know Paul.
Paul, are you all digging MagnaCut, or is it just the flavor of the week? I think that's a great question to Derek and to the other viewers.
I think it depends what you value. Like, there's not an easy answer to that. Like, if you value edge retention, then like it's probably a more flavor of the week thing. I think if you value like toughness and stainlessness, then there's something to it that you can't really get anywhere else at that level. So I mean, it's not like an easy like yes or no. Like, is this the new M390 or whatever? It just, for me, like I do value toughness a little more than edge retention. For me, like I have a steel like M390 and I use it. Eventually I hit a staple something and it chips out, and the rest of the edge is sharp forever, but it's a pain to sharpen. Like for me, the toughness is just easier. I'm happy to sharpen it slightly more often, but not have the issues in between. But if you don't agree with that, then yeah, and it's kind of like a weird non-answer, but it depends what you care about.
No, I agree. It's a tough question for sure. I only have one in MagnaCut. That's my RJ Martin. This thing is crazy sharp, and I've been super happy with it. So I don't know. I'm super happy with this one. I don't know if it's the MagnaCut that is, the reason why it's so sharp and works so great, or if it's just that design. It's the only RJ Martin Q36 SS that I have, so I can't really compare it to other ones. But so far,
geometry has a lot to do with cutting power, not just the blade steel itself. So that's a big thing too, which we can do a whole other episode on, I'm sure. But
for sure, Dave.
I'm not that educated to really get into blade geometry because I know angles, I know apexes, I know how to sharpen my knives, and that's about all I know. But I'm in no way no sharpening expert or none of that stuff. And if I have a nice knife, I don't sharpen it myself. I'll send it back to the maker. That's about my level of, like a Kershaw, a ZT. I can do that. I kind of removed a bunch of rolls out of your custom Hellraiser.
Yes. See, the only thing I know about sharpening, is I'm not doing it. I will send it to Alex. I will send it back to the maker. I have a very good friend, Travis, who does crazy sharpenings for me, but I just have to ship them to him. Dave Williams says his CRKT is MagnaCut and it works great. Al says that RJ Martin likes it. Bob T likes it.
RJ Martin was an early guy, one of the first guys really pushing MagnaCut in the custom world. Like he came out with a couple videos on it and stuff like that. That doesn't mean like that made it more appealing to me. I know I love crew wear. That's what I've always heard it compared to, like from the guys that really know their stuff for the most part anyways. And but then like Ritz knife has a nice little stain of rust on the tip. So it's not as stainless as I would say as M390.
Like the heat treat is something that affects the stainlessness a lot more.
I was gonna say that might be a factor,
Weird things about it where like M390, you can run it from like 60 to 65 and like it'll be pretty much equally stainless in my experience. But I find like the sweet spot for having the most stainlessness is a lot tighter. Not like, I don't know why that is, but it's just what I've noticed.
And that could be the issue on the avian knives one, because that was one of the very first prototype-ish ones. So they may just have not gotten the heat treat just perfect. Like, I don't know.
And to be fair, it came from Thailand, right? Which is a
it's
moist
been around
climate.
a while, and
it's been your house, my house. It's had a journey, so
for sure. So God only knows what's happened to it along the way. And yeah, that was one of their early ones. But yeah, those are cool. I gotta find somebody that's got one of the custom production, like one of the final versions, to send in, because I gotta check those out, because I hear the action's totally different.
Did you ever review this thing, Dirk? Did you ever actually review a video on it? I can't remember.
I think I did, and then I held on to it for a long time because somebody was going to send me one of the standard version ones with the cams still in it.
Yeah.
And they never did. They never found theirs. So I was cleaning up and sending you stuff back. So I just sent it back. If I can ever find a standard version, stock version, I'll just get you to send that back to me so I can do a comparison.
It'll never go away. I love this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
For those who don't know, this is a cold steel paradox. This is a knife that actually doesn't come. It's not a real balisong. It's got these kind of like cam lock lobes like on the inside here. So it works kind of like a slip joint where it locks here and then it locks there and then locks here and locks there. But I thought it looked so cool. I thought I'd just grind the cams off of it. So, I mean, I got to really be careful, but yeah, now it's a full functional, massive balisong.
Yeah. So if anybody has one of those that's standard stock version, hit me or Alex up, because we would love to do a video comparing his with a standard one.
Yes. The paradox. That's a goofy knife. That was a very goofy knife by Cold Steel.
Yeah.
Very cool. Once
Cold
I fixed
Steel
it.
has made some other goofy knives as well, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That was old school Cold Steel. New school Cold Steel, jury's out on, so we won't even go there.
Yeah, that was Lynn Thomas Cold Steel.
Yes.
Bowie knife out of his underwear. 2 of them. Sword out of his ass crack.
Okay, yeah. On that note, let's.
Well, no, dude, he would do these interviews, and he's like, and then he pull out this massive blade, and then you're like, oh my god, where was he hiding that? And then he's like, oh, but hold on, and then he's got this other one, and you're like, what the fuck is this guy preparing for right now? Like,
he is certainly a character for sure.
Yeah. An important part of Cold Steel, in my personal opinion, but definitely a goofball.
Paul says he prefers the OG whimsical Cold Steel Espada XL. Yeah, I would love to check one of those out too at some point.
That's a legend.
Yeah. So cool. Well, I think we're at a good point here. Anything else, Derek, that you want to tell us about you or your whatever? Anything at this point?
Yeah, and what do you want us customers to know versus, like, from a knife maker's perspective? What's something that you want, like, collectors to know and to keep in mind as they're shopping around and dealing with knife makers?
Maybe just to think about sort of like the intended use of the knife and the sort of design philosophy behind it. I find a lot of guys will come and they'll be like, hey, like, I'd like to get a Pyrenees, but I really want it to drop shut. And I'm like, well, that's not really what I'm going for here. They're all on washers. Like, it's not a bearing knife. They're kind of like, it'll fall shut, sort of whatever, but it's not like a Norseman or something. But that's not what, trying to like mold every knife into sort of a flavor of the month thing. I think it's important to, to realize what it is you're trying to buy, I guess. And then to realize that it might not be for you, or, just try and understand what the intent of the maker is.
I like that a lot. And I think that's the whole bearing versus washer action thing, I think is a great thing to mention, because, I think like some of us old school collectors, even when we would buy our first Sabenza, just because a lot of times you'll see them on YouTube and somebody's got like a nice worn out one that they flick open. I have one of those now where it's broken in, right? Like an old pair of underwear. But when you get them out of the box new, it is not that experience at all. It is like you got to work it in, and and mine, I even polish my washers. Not condoning to do that to a Sabenza, because I sure Chris Reeve would have a shit fit. He hates that stuff, but like that is a good point. Understanding what you are buying, and there's sometimes people, if you want a fast action, realize that just because a blade drops fast doesn't mean the action is poor. There's other types of action some of us are craving. Like me and Dirk do like control type knives. We don't like slam shut. I do own a couple slam shuts, and I think they're cool. And on the day when I want that, I'll carry that. But for the most part, like even my PM2 is actually cranked down to a point where it's like a nice like Sabenza washer action. It's just what I prefer. I can still flick it open, but it's not, I have to wrist it to make it flick close, in other words.
Yeah. And just like the trade-off factor too. I think some people will say, oh, like a knife doesn't drop shut, it's not as high quality. And I think it's important to understand that it might be a quality thing, but it's also like a trade-off thing, right? Where it's like your lock bar tension, for example, the less likely it is to drop shut. And every knife, if all things are equal and you put more lock bar tension, the same, the lock will be stronger with more tension.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, there's a bunch of other variables, but it might be a conscious decision not to have something the way you want it versus like a defect. And I noticed that with like some like review channels and stuff will speak on these things as if they're fact and this is better because of this and worse because of this. But it's just sort of a difference of opinion and, and just what different people value as opposed to like a binary better, worse.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a great point. Absolutely great point. Just because one guy says this, then I've done a video. Watch other people's videos as well. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take Alex's word for it. Find a knife.
You can take my word for it.
Find a knife that you like, the Pyrenees, and then search that on YouTube and watch everybody talk about the Pyrenees.
I've seen some horrible videos.
Or the Norseman. Everybody's going to have an opinion.
I've seen some horrible videos, like horrible YouTubers that do a video that teaches me something just because I could see like more about the way they're fiddling with the knife or whatnot. So it doesn't even take a good YouTube channel to like really understand what you're about to buy. Usually I just want a quick glance of what it looks like in person versus somebody who took the right angles in a 2D picture, right? So I don't know. I think that's a good point. And I think I want a Pyrenees actually, now that I think about it. And I want that mirror polish too. Damn it.
It's going to take a lot of convincing. I don't think
it's going to take some money. It's,
you got to pay to play, man,
See, CPM knows. He'll take Alex and Dirk's word. He doesn't need to do more research. Hey, I mean, I just tell it like from my point of view and my thoughts on knife X, Y, or Z, or watch A, B, or C. And if you like my opinion, great. If you disagree with my opinion, that's fine too. Mine's just one of a million opinions on YouTube. I don't care. I just tell you my side.
I'm a tiny channel, so I don't really have much weight anyways, but I know some people.
Yeah, no, I'm just an average guy. Mine's never going to blow up, so whatever. Cool. Any other last minute questions from the peanut gallery here, other than Wilson asking me to time out Detroit for harassment? No, I can't do that, man. I'll check in the group chat. I see it's going crazy over here on my phone. I'll check in on that when we're off. I can't keep track of that too. And CPM doesn't like either of our opinions. That's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, monkeys might fly out of my butt. That's an old movie. Reference, movie.
That's a great movie.
Anyway.
All right, well, there you go, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Derek, again, thanks for taking some time out on a Sunday evening to hang out with Dirk and Alex. And
I'll be harassing you later, man. Don't worry, I'll be harassing you.
That mirror polish is gonna happen
like,
one way or another.
Hey, thanks, Gary. And yeah, Gary's VC.
And I'm gonna mirror polish. I send you a Damascus billet to mirror polish.
Oh god, then I gotta worry about wrecking your.
Yeah,
people send stuff in. They always have like this perfect picture where I execute it flawlessly.
But but you know what though? Here's the difference with me. If you wreck the Damascus, and I have other makers that will vouch for this, I will probably laugh really hard and say that sucks. Let's get another one. That's just the way I am. So
I don't know if I could live with it. I've had people ask to send stuff in, and I'm always like, "Oh man, I don't want to wreck all of your shit."
No, wreck it. That's how we get to the final product, man. It's all about the end product that you get to, where you're like, fuck yeah, this rocks, you know, like the tears, the heartache, whatever came through, eventually it comes to a piece of art. And there's no better home than, you know, that knife box. Dude, I keep everything. True. I don't flip stuff. I like my special pieces. I keep them. I just, you know, I think I'll have to like be threatened with homelessness before I sell my stuff.
That's a great way to go. I mean, I sold some. I keep a lot. I've sold a lot.
Well, production stuff can always go, but the ones you make, like like I talked about the Kurt American, for example, right? Like it was like a unique experience. Right. Like those, I can't let them go because even though they're worth good money, you know, I didn't build them to make money in the first place. I built them because I like them. So, anyways, enough of that.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Go check out Derek's channel. There's a link in the description. And check out his website and get in on those lottos, man. Help a brother out.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
And then we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Derek, you can stay on and we'll say goodbye to everybody here. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Not sure what we're doing in a couple of weeks, but we'll figure it out and let you guys know.
Mm-hmm.